I'm Amy Goodman. As the
2 days
House of
ago.
Representatives moves closer to forcing the release of the Epstein files by the Department of Justice, we turn now to look at a new series by Dropsite News looking at Epstein's ties to Israeli intelligence and how he secretly brokered numerous deals for Israeli intelligence. On Tuesday, Dropsite revealed an Israeli spy stayed for weeks at a time with Epstein in Manhattan. Dropsite has also looked at Epstein's role brokering a security agreement between Israel and Mongolia, and Epstein's role in setting up a back channel between Israel and Russia on Syria. This all comes as CNN's revealed today. Epstein mentioned Donald Trump by name multiple times in private correspondence over the last 15 years, according to newly released emails from Democrats in the House Oversight Committee. CNN's reporting the emails show Epstein asserts Trump spent significant time with a woman whom oversight Democrats describe as a victim of Epstein's sex trafficking. We're joined now by Dropsite's Murtaza Hussain, who's been reporting on Epstein with his colleague Ryan Grim. Murtaza, welcome back to Democracy Now! Explain what you feel the media is not covering. What is the role of Jeffrey Epstein when it comes to U.S. foreign policy?
So there's been a lot of justifiable focus on Epstein's very grave crimes and facilitation of the crimes of others related to sex trafficking and sex abuse. But one critical aspect of the story has not been covered is Epstein's own relations to foreign governments, the U.S. governments, and particularly foreign intelligence agencies. Now, this information is not entirely private. A lot of it is out there, actually, in House disclosures, as parts of certain lawsuits which have been leveled against Epstein or over Epstein's activities over the past few years, and in a few databases of leaked emails from certain figures around the world which have come out showing extensive contacts with Epstein. So I think that a lot of these coverage of him so far, to date at least, it's focused again on salacious details of his life and the crimes he was involved in related to minors and women. But the other aspect, the political aspect, and who he was and the role he played at this very high level, facilitating deals, interacting and liaisoning with intelligence agencies in different parts of the world, has not been covered. We don't know exactly who Epstein.
That's a fascinating statement Morteza just made there. It's like what people are talking about is the violence. What people are talking about is and rightfully so what she says as well. What people are talking about is the violence and stuff, the violence against women, the organized crime, it seems, this kind of syndicate that Epstein and Trump and all of these very rich people in the world were operating or part of. And I said it earlier in this stream that there is, you know, a class, a bourgeois, very rich group of people that are around this person. And Morteza, I don't know if he's going to say it in this interview. Watch your head, kitty. Don't hit your head on the desk. Give space. I don't know if Morteza says it in this interview here. I haven't watched this. But Morteza said in his investigation, all of the journalism he's done covering this, it seems Epstein does not work for Mossad, but that he's bigger than Mossad or any one intelligence agency. That is, that he described him as a freelancer. And I'm quoting, not paraphrasing, that Epstein was like a freelancer, that these state intelligence organizations like Mossad, like the CIA, were working for, or were basically, they had aligned interests somehow, but Epstein, again, was not working for any one of those, according to Morteza's work. Just thought that was interesting.
Epstein was specifically to be in the position to commit the crimes that he was doing. And our story is aiming to focus and shedding light upon one particular aspect, which is Epstein's extensive relationship with Israeli intelligence, U.S. intelligence, and the intelligence agencies of other countries as well, too. He was a deal maker and a fixer at a very, very elite level. And he was making deals that were ultimately wound up, in some cases, being signed as formal security agreements between the government of Israel and other countries. That's what our series is focusing on right now. And it's just coming across naturally looking at the information contained in the publicly available data about his communications over the past, during the period of about 2013 to 2016.
So tell us who Yoni Koren is. You reveal that this senior Israeli intelligence officer lives in one of Epstein's apartments, had close personal ties to former CIA Director Leon Panetta. Can you talk about what specific intelligence gathering operations you believe that Koren was conducting from Epstein's apartment? And also, the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, which has been documented over and over again.
So a lot of the information we have now coming out about these intelligence ties do come from private correspondence between Barak and Epstein, which were leaked by hackers some years ago and posted online, but have never really been analyzed in great detail, but shed profound light on Epstein's ties, not just to Barak, but officials all over the world and foreign governments in Africa and Central Asia and Europe and Russia, whom he was helping connect Barak with. Interestingly, Barak was relying on Epstein's support rather than vice versa, despite the fact that Barak was a very powerful figure in the Israeli security establishment. And so these emails, in addition to House disclosures, which also pointed the same information, showed that this intelligence agent, who was a longtime military intelligence agent in Israel, who was Barak's chief aide for many years, lived at Epstein's house for significant stretches of time, weeks at a time, between this period of 2013, 2015. He was staying in Epstein's house. We don't know specifically from the communications what they may have been working on or what is.
So this intelligence officer who was working as basically the right-hand man to, Ehud Barak, was not only seeking out Epstein for business, basically, to lean on Epstein for help in conducting intelligence operations, but was also staying at Epstein's, I believe, personal apartment. I mean, I don't know how you can get like a business apartment. Yeah, staying at Epstein's residence. So very deep connection that has been revealed here.
This is
in these new emails. The political aspect and who he was and the role he played as agent and intelligence ultimately wound up, in some cases, being signed as formal security agreements between the government of Israel and other countries. That's what our series is focusing on right now. And it's just coming across naturally looking at the information contained in the publicly available data about his communications over the past, during the period of about 2013 to 2016.
Oh my gosh, hairy
so
cut.
Tell us who Yoni Koren is. You reveal that this senior Israeli intelligence officer lives in one of Epstein's. Can you?
Yeah, so we just listened to
Prime
this.
Minister of Israel.
So a lot of the information we have now coming out about these intelligence ties do come from private correspondence between Barak and Epstein, which were leaked by hackers some years ago and posted online, but have never really been analyzed in great detail, but shed profound light on Epstein's ties, not just to Barak, but if
Chief of Staff of Otara, he arrives tomorrow. Try to coordinate. I am flexible if you decide you have time. Let's talk it tomorrow. These people don't even like write full sentences. This is like as if you're sending like a pager message or something, as if you have like the utmost limitations, like 100 characters, and each character that you adds like 5 seconds to the transmission time. Like that's how these messages are written. And actually, Mortaza was talking about this in the Bad Faith podcast interview, that in the schedules that were released, at least, obviously we don't have the full picture, but in what was released publicly, Epstein, for example, had these absolutely packed schedules of like flying around internationally, meeting with multiple people, sometimes in the same day, traveling and meeting multiple people all in the same day. And so he says, obviously Epstein still is behind the crimes that we're talking about here. That's not in question, but it just points to how connected and how organized all of this was, which is even more horrifying and just surreal again at what this class of people, the owning class, the ruling class that has all of the capital, has all of the property, at the end of the day, has the state police, state violence at their disposal to defend them, what they're capable of and what they are doing, not just what they're capable of, not a potential, but a glimpse at what has been publicly made available of what the owning class, the ruling class, is doing.
Officials all over the world and foreign governments in Africa and Central Asia and Europe and Russia, whom he was helping connect Barack with. Interestingly, Barack was relying on Epstein's support rather than vice versa, despite the fact that Barack was a very powerful figure in the Israeli security establishment. And so these emails...
Barack was relying on Epstein's support, not the other way around. Wow.
In addition to House disclosures, which also pointed the same information, showed that this intelligence agent, who was a longtime military intelligence agent in Israel, who was Barack's chief aide for many years, lived at Epstein's house for significant stretches of time, weeks at a time, between this period of 2013 2015. He was staying in Epstein's house. We don't know specifically from the communications what they may have been working on, or what his role may have been there, or the reason he was staying at his house. Barack would also stay at his house sometimes to hold meetings and to do business in New York. That was facilitated by that. But we do see that they were corresponding. And at one point, Epstein does transfer money to Cohen. And there is also communication between Barack and Cohen in the inbox, which we believe is
from Ehud Barak to Jeffrey Epstein, February 22nd, 2014, 2:06 a.m. I don't know what time this is. I don't know how exactly the timestamps are working here. I would imagine the email was signed local time. So whatever time zone Ehud Barak was in is how this email was signed with the time. Ehud Barak says, "You're right in a way." in is typoed. They're spaced apart. I don't know if that's code, but you're right. In a way, but not simple to transform it into a cash flow, a subject for Saturday, best EB. And this is in response to, from Epstein, account is jeevacation@gmail.com. Holy shit. So Jeffrey Epstein's vacation Gmail ? He says, with civil unrest exploding in Ukraine, Syria, Somalia, Libya, and the desperation of those in power, isn't this perfect for you? With a disclaimer, you can't make this up. The information contained in this communication is confidential, may be attorney-client privilege, may constitute inside information, and is intended only for the use of the addressee. It is property of, this disclaimer, like the Facebook, you do not own my information posts, if you guys remember that. If any of you are, I don't know what you are, Gen X, millennial, something, and remember that. I copy and post this so to make sure Facebook doesn't own your data. With this one quick legal trick, by posting my rights, I will manifest them. Yeah. Anyway.
Coded communication, perhaps referring to dead drops of information or something else in New York City that they're engaged in. It's hard to tell.
Dead drops are like a spy thing, right? They're like leaving physical objects hidden, leaving the spot, and then the other person goes and collects it. So they never actually are in the same location together at the same time. But at this location, at a dead drop, It's almost like a mailbox. It's a spy's mailbox. If you've ever seen like Breaking Bad, and the drug dealers go out and they have all this product that they've hidden, all of the drugs that they've hidden in plain sight in public. Those are dead drops, right? So no one meets there, but it is a mailbox of sort. It's a handoff spot that the two people don't ever actually go together at the same time. It's like a drop off. Yeah, exactly. The drop off spot. Dead drop. I don't know why it's called dead, but spy stuff. Everything's got to be dramatic and badass or whatever.
Because part of the reason that this
Versus a live drop. Yeah, I guess, like a warm handoff versus a cold handoff kind of situation. Wow, that was the most delayed notification I had clipped quite some time ago, but that's okay. I might even turn that notification off. But I digress.
This correspondence is interesting is that we knew from the Snowden disclosures many years ago that Barack and Corn were being surveilled by the NSA in New York around this time, or in the United States around this time. So whatever they were doing with Epstein, or in his house, in New York, amongst each other, with money, with sharing information or data or packages or something else, it was taking place in this period. And again, the interesting thing is that even if one would not look at the emails and keep those separate, this information is in the House disclosures. In Jeffrey Epstein's calendars, it's mentioned the Corn's coming and going from his home and the day of his departure, that he was staying, how long he was staying for. So this is stuff that the media could be covering, the broader media could be covering. It's just escaped attention for reasons which, one can speculate, or it's hard to say exactly. But we're going to continue drilling down this, not shying away from the political implications of his activities, Epstein's activities, and the ties he had with powerful figures like Barack and intelligence agents like Corn.
The leaked emails showed that the former Prime Minister, Ehud Barak, bookmarked a private initiative with Oracle's Larry Ellison. Can you talk about the significance of this initiative?
So what we saw from the email is effectively that around the time that Epstein and Barack were corresponding, that Corn's activities in New York at Epstein's home were going on, Barack himself had gone on to have a separate meeting with Larry Ellison. Now, Larry Ellison is a very well-known pro-Israel donor. He's a billionaire and founder of Oracle. Currently, he's involved with his son buying up much of the American media. We've done other reporting on Ellison, drawn not from this database, but from a separate database of communications, which are also leaked and are posted on a website called the Distributed Denial Service, Denial of Secrets. And they showed that Ellison had been very involved with the Israeli government in other facets, helping, in a way, shape the American political system for Israel. He was helping vet political candidates at the behest of Israeli officials for their favorability towards Israel to determine who he give money to. So we don't know from the correspondence with Barack what he was discussing with Ellison at that time, or what the private initiative may have been. There's no further, not everything was discussed by email. A lot of things were discussed by phone, so not everything is documented in that manner. But we do know that Ellison was very closely involved in promoting the perceived interests of the Israel in the United States at that time, and Barack was doing the same thing. And interestingly, Epstein was doing the same thing. Epstein was.
So real quick, Distributed Denial of Secrets. This is just ddossecrets.com on the ClearNet. This isn't the dark web or something. You just access this legally for free. Well, I don't know about legally, but because I think some of these were maybe hacked documents. But the Epstein files, a huge collection, a tarball, if you will, of just all the files, 120 gigabytes, 121 gigabytes. They got a torrent link. They got a download link. What is this? Okay, just download link right from them. They're hosting it. Updated today. Collection of documents, emails, and recordings related to Jeffrey Epstein, including his FBI and Interpol files, court documents, releases from the Department of Justice and Congress, and leaked emails with Ehud Barak. So, the leaked emails, I believe, is where there might be some, depending on where you live and what your local laws are, your mileage may vary, but this is available on the internet. They have some supporting references here. Epstein's Wikipedia page, litigation involving Jeffrey Epstein's Wikipedia page, Ghislaine Maxwell Wikipedia, Virginia Jeffrey Wikipedia, as well as some archive links, I believe, to those Wikipedia pages. .win site network. Over 1.8 million entries of posts and comments from the networks of .win sites, including the Donald.win, that were critically involved in the January 6th coup attempt. The Donald. The Donald was like that subreddit. That subreddit of like, no, he won. And all that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So yeah, they have an investigation into the Boy Scouts. They have an investigation into the Casolaro files from Danny Casolaro. NSA targeting world leaders. Trade and service agreements, transatlantic trade and investment partnerships. So this looks very tendrily. This looks like it goes into every single direction.
Helping Barack.
Yeah, go look at that for yourself. If not the files themselves, you know, obviously do your own risk assessment if that makes sense for you. But on DropSite News, so this is the article here. Epstein in Israel is the category. So they have a whole category here. And yeah, this is the actual article, the full article. They have the screenshots of these emails. Again, if you don't want to go to distributed denial of secrets, which sure, do your own risk assessment. But yeah, they have screenshots here. You can easily see this is journalism, First Amendment, at least in America. You are free to read all of this. And that is perfectly fine and legal and protected. Yeah, again, I looked at this graph earlier on. I think this is a hugely important diagram here of what Unit 8200, Israeli military's signal intelligence unit, does. This is a huge part of their operations, this basically spying, this intercepting of landlines. It's all in this flowchart here. Landlines, cellular, sat phones, which I believe is satellite, VSAT, which maybe is video over satellite, a different kind of satellite transmission, tactical radios. These are all of the telecom technologies that they are intercepting, processing, and then feeding to military linguists and analysts that will process that even further, you know, into reports, into some kind of verbal presentation to their higher ups, to the intelligence officers, to the military officers, that will use that to make their, you know, issue commands and all of that. So this is a huge part. You know, talk about the opportunity for some kind of what's the word? Public oh my gosh, my brain is fried. End of the day here. Yeah, to do some kind of public disobedience, civil disobedience, to do sabotage even. This is a hugely important role. You are the brains. You are the eyes and brains of the military. And it cannot be understated or overstated how important this work is and how critical it is, frankly, that this is how they are making all of their command decisions, I would assume. Maybe not all of them, because obviously they have some kind of hubris, just beating the, what's the word? You know, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. They have all of this expensive weaponry, all of the fighter jets, just like CENTCOM. All they can do is bomb shit. That's their tried and true strategy, is just keep bombing it. keep bombing it, keep flying multi-role fighter jets over and bombing it. But yeah, no, this is huge. This is, I said it earlier, this is what Chelsea Manning was doing. Signal intelligence with the U.S. Army, of course. But in her, I believe she calls it a memoir, but in that book, readme.text, yeah, she talks about all kinds of data that you have to process. She talked about how football games, actually, like following local sports, following regional sports, was one of the leading indicators to her of, if attacks would happen, if there would be civil unrest, if people would be out in the streets, if violence would erupt. And this was in, places like Afghanistan, places like Iraq, places that she didn't even know anything about. And I think she talked about the growth, if you will, or the application of using like gaming skills, gaming strategy to, video analysis, for example, or battle analysis, military analysis. So very fascinating read. Please go read that book. It's a long read, but first-hand account, primary source about what was going on in the United States military. And she even talks about, dissenting, because she is a Snowden of sorts. She leaked some data about, how the U.S. Army knew that the extrajudicial killings that they were doing in places like Afghanistan, places like Iraq, in Syria, in Central Asia, were not, with 100% certainty that they were going to get the bad guy, right? They didn't know who they were bombing, is basically what these reports were showing, right? Through all of the kind of retroactive analysis after they had carried out the strike, and even before, on both sides of the operation, the U.S. military did not know who they were targeting, or if they had even targeted or killed who they said they were. So very illuminating work, very important work. She even got thrown into like military jail, basically. And she describes that in the memoir as well. In the memoir, excuse me. Very awesome read. Readme.text by Chelsea Manning. But yeah, that's what signal intelligence is. That's what signal intelligence is taking in all that data. Here it's very focused on telecommunications, but unit 8200, 8200, 8200, they do astroturfing campaigns as well. And I've done a little video on this, if I can pull it up, but yeah, this is not the only thing they do, but this is a huge part of what they do. If you've ever heard of the Hasbara unit, that's the same unit, actually, 8200. The social media unit is also 8200. So they are the ones that actually will have like the TikToks and stuff like that. They are the ones posting as the spokespeople of the Israeli military. It's all the same unit. So really a Swiss Army knife, a utility, high utility unit for Israel.
Facilitate Israeli interest around the world, different countries, helping them refine his pitches, connecting with people to help pursue, the geopolitical interests of the Israeli government. And this is all coming as for one parcel of that. And so at Barak's meeting with Ellison, one can imagine it would have something to do with the ongoing efforts he'd be engaged in.
And the leaked emails showing Jeffrey Epstein and Barak securing a private meeting with Vladimir Putin in 2013 to orchestrate the removal of Bashar al-Assad. It didn't succeed, but in an email exchange, Epstein wrote to the former prime minister of Israel, with civil unrest exploding in Ukraine, Syria, Somalia, Libya, and the desperation of those in power, isn't this perfect for you? Barack replied, "You're right in a way, but not simple to transform it into a cash flow, a subject for Saturday,"
Wow.
Ehud Barak wrote. Can you talk about, as we wrap up, that relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Ehud Barak attempting to profit from the war in Syria?
Well, that email that you just read out is a very important email because it kind of explains the broader thesis that Epstein and Barak have been operating under and what they've been doing exactly. They've been going around the world Epstein been pitching Barak as someone who could solve the security problems of different countries and introducing him to powerful people in these countries. We're going to cover more of those in the weeks and months to come. And telling them that Barak, through his connections with the Israeli intelligence and Israeli intelligence-linked surveillance technology firms especially, could help introduce them to these countries, embed them, and then later sign formal deals with Israel. We did a story about this, how it manifested in Cote d'Ivoire, also Mongolia.
In Cote d'Ivoire, I believe Elbit Systems, infamous Elbit Systems, you know, that create the Israeli drones, target of a lot of these Palestine action and direct actions. Look at that. They have some kind of surface-to-air missile and all of this military shit on their website here. Unreal. But yeah, they look at this. They're like a real Lockheed Martin, a real Raytheon out there in Israel, creating these killing drones, all of these sophisticated weapons that really are a manifestation of the Western imperial, you know, a culmination of all the extraction. I really think of this in U.S. military tech too. Is just, it's the pinnacle of exploitation. Anyway.
In this tie with Russia, it's very fascinating because Epstein was the one who's arranging a back channel between Barak and Putin to discuss this deal to remove Bashar al-Assad and replace him with putatively, you know, pro-Russian dictator who Israel was also okay with. That didn't come to pass. But I think that the interactions show a tremendous access that Epstein enjoyed, not just to Israeli officials or U.S. officials, but also to Russian officials. He had the ability to get meetings with Putin. He met with Putin himself on numerous occasions, according to his own correspondence. And, you know, that is something that, you know, how did that come about? What was the background behind that? We don't know. But we do know that at the very least, Epstein was somebody who considered himself to have the ability to access high-level Russian officials. He claimed in the emails, as I mentioned, that he met Putin or Putin asked to meet him. That's Epstein's own depiction of the interaction. But he did absolutely have the juice to get Barak in the room with Putin. And the funny thing is that Barak had to rely on Epstein for that, to create that back channel. It shows the tremendous influence and power that Epstein had, which does not really, you know, we have not had a full accounting of that. That has not been accounted for in our public understanding of this case. We hope to shed more light on that in our own reporting, but we need the government, we need other news outlets to pay attention to this and put together the pieces of who Epstein was and the role he played as an international deal maker.
Murtaza Hussain, I want to thank you for being with us, national security reporter at Dropsite News. We'll link to your new articles about Jeffrey Epstein's ties to Israel.
I feel like this is such a keystone piece in what's going on in global geopolitics. Right, is Epstein and who exactly he was, what exactly he was involved in. The fact that there are these international security military deals being brokered by such affluent people really begs the question of what the hell is going on behind the scenes? What's happening in the shadows that you have this financier, as he's referenced by, you know, the big news outlets, as if some successful business person or something. You know, what is going on here that all across the world, right? Russia, Mongolia, Cote d'Ivoire, Israel, United States, there are business dealings, and specifically these multi-million, you know, security packages, defense packages, military things. I don't know. It begs the question, you know, maybe people are not ideologically motivated. Maybe they're just trying to make money off of everything. Maybe more war is good, just like that email said. Just like that email said, difficult to turn into a cash flow. It should be good for you. Isn't this perfect for you? You're right in a way, but not simple to transform it into a cash flow. A subject for Saturday. Wow. Okay, we're going to leave it there. At least for the serious stuff. I think I might come back and marathon stream Apex, but I didn't want the VODs to have half serious, half not serious. So I may come back online later tonight. Yeah, I wanted to really record this. I got some nice clips, but wanted to record this and post something on my YouTube about what's going on with all of this. But I really think Epstein is a keystone piece in the connection, with Gaza and Sudan, with really every military in the world, and civil unrest, right? These are people that profit off of civil unrest. It's the smoking gun is right in front of us, this email. Even Somalia is referenced. Not even Somalia can be free of these war pigs, these warmongers, these war is a racket businessmen. Absolutely disgusting, absolutely revealing of what the bourgeois, the ruling class, the rich are doing in this world. They don't care. They're just making money. They're just making money. And if it makes them more money, that's great.